Business for Unicorns podcast is for fitness business owners who want actionable strategies to grow their business, take amazing care of their clients, and build a life and business they truly love. I'm your host, Michael Keeler, co-founder of Mark Fisher Fitness, and through Business for Unicorns, I'm a coach and consultant to industry-leading fitness studios around the world. Let's get started. Well, hello. What's up, fitness business nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. And today is really frigging exciting because not only is today a bonus episode with Mark Fisher, who I'm going to welcome to the stage. Hello, Mark Fisher.
Hello.
Today's bonus episode has another special guest. What? Two special guests? It's too much to handle, isn't it, Fisher? It's too much. I'm building a lot of excitement. You better be ready for it. Our third guest today is our dear friend, Pete Dupuis. What's up, my friend?
New-ish face, right?
Newish/old face. You know, he's been around the block a few times in this podcast. In fact,
sort of a regular here.
Sort of a regular. In fact, another episode, The View and I, is probably coming out maybe a week after this one. So they're going to get all the Pete Dupuis. Fisher, do you want to talk a little bit about what the heck Pete's doing here with us?
Yeah, well, in an exciting turn of events, it turns out that there is lots of demand for the things we do. There's lots of demand in Business for Unicorns and for coaching. There's lots of demand in Mark Fisher Fitness, which is also scaling back up. And we have just to the point where we need some help. And the challenge is we are pretty picky about who we work with, particularly for Business for Unicorns. There's only ever been me and Michael and Ben, one of our treasured members who we promoted to a coach. So when we got to the position where we knew we needed some more help, well, we thought for sure we were screwed. But then we asked our dear friend Pete to see if he was interested in joining the Business for Unicorns team and participating in coaching for our unicorn-sided coaching group. And holy crap, he said yes.
It's amazing. I mean, he really is saving our butts. And we've obviously been big fans of Pete for a long time. We're going to talk about you like you're not here, Pete. So just for another second, been such big fans of Pete and all the work he's done, not just at Cressy, but all the great content he's put out over the years through his blog and all the great writings he's been doing on his emails. And we just always enjoyed our interactions. And so one of the things that's so exciting for us is that at Business for Unicorns, all the courses and material we've created have come out of mine and Mark's minds. And while our minds are very different, our experience over the last 10 years is pretty similar. Though both of us have the same path in this industry, well, more or less over the last 10 years. And so what we're really excited about is bring someone like Pete into the fold for Business for Unicorns, help coach all of our clients. And his experience is so different. I mean, Cressy is such a different place, and he has an MBA, so he has a different education that we both have. He didn't grow up in the theater, so his undergraduate degree isn't in dance and musical theater. So we have a whole different perspective. And so anyway, we can gush over Pete this whole time, but we just want to say officially, Pete, welcome to the Business for Unicorns family. Welcome to the team. Thanks for being here. You want to just talk, share a little bit about why you said yes, why you agreed to work with us crazy people?
Sure. Well, first, thank you. I think it was maybe sometime in the last year, I said to one or both of you, if you ever want to add a performance wing to what you're doing with Business for Unicorns, I'm raising my hand over here. Mm-hmm. And so the real why, selfishly, every time there's a question I don't have an answer to, including as we were prepping for this call, I come to you two and I say, hey guys, I got this question. What's the answer to it? So you start to realize that if you have any degree of self-awareness, we all have blind spots, or maybe not blind spots so much as just acknowledged weaknesses. And you guys tend to fill those gaps for me historically. And I like to think that I can do so for you in some capacity, being from this performance training realm. And yeah, CSP is a different animal for sure. But when you really get down to it, I've said to you guys, I think philosophically and kind of as far as our appreciation for strategy goes, there are a lot of similarities. Yeah. A lot of this overlaps, and
for sure.
And we've lectured enough alongside each other and consumed enough of each other's material to, well, I can comfortably say I'm not putting myself at risk by aligning myself with you guys. And I've put out enough stuff for you to know who I am, I think. So I think it's a good match, and it might seem a little bit mismatchy from the outside, but the reality is we're pushing in the same direction. So I think it's going to go well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not only, like you said, is there a real values alignment for how we try to show up as leaders and entrepreneurs, but also I think we both kind of want the same things for our little corners of the fitness industry, to be a place, a real beacon for, the best way to operate, the best way to manage a team, the best way to treat clients, and I think, putting all of our brains together to help more and more folks in the industry with these things, more and more training gyms, I think it's going to be amazing. Yeah, so I'm super stoked, and I'm glad you're going to be joining us for some of these bonus episodes because the more brains, the merrier.
Oh, I can't wait. I should say that it's not my first stab at consulting either.
Yeah.
If that brings any level of comfort to your community,
Yes.
I've been doing the same thing you guys have been, kind of running parallel to you, doing my own consulting, and will continue to do so in some capacity here outside of it. But I wanted to bring some of it under your umbrella just because your resources are gold, and I want to start contributing. So here I am.
Yeah. Well, we're so stoked, and we can't wait to keep growing together. So thanks for being here, my friend. We did pick a topic we're all going to riff on today. And the context for this topic, I think, is that, we see a lot of businesses, including our own, ramping back up slowly in some cases, but surely after COVID into this next chapter. And I see that a lot in our Unicorn Society group, a lot of people also ramping back up, again, some faster than others. And a lot of that means having to hire. In some cases, team members who we lost over this last year of COVID. I don't mean lost in terms of death, but I'm sure that's in some cases that's the case. Luckily, not for us. But team members who moved away or no longer work with us for whatever reason has to be replaced. Plus, we're ramping back up and we need to hire again. And so we thought we'd talk about having having a bench of people you can hire from. What does that process look like for each of us? And what do we want it to look like to make sure we have a constant flow of quality humans we can hire in our businesses? So as our honored guest, Pete, I want to start with you. This is something that Cressy's known for, is having an internship program, which is, I'm sure, part of what you'll talk about. So talk a little bit about how do you all think about having a bench of people to hire from in your business?
I think that there's first and foremost a misconception about what internships are in this industry, or I should say there are varying reasons for why small business owners get into the internship game. Some are admirable, others are not. And so there's a small community that look at interns as free help or heavily discounted help. So I want to emphasize first and foremost, that's not what we are. Our internship program is really the stocked pond that we dive into every time we have coaching needs. And we have a policy here that we will only hire through our internship program, purely because look, I make bad intern hires periodically, but I've never made a bad coaching hire. And it's purely because of this internship program. When we get between 300 and 500 hours of exposure to someone's personality and coaching style, have an opportunity to get past the competency piece, because that if we can't make a pretty average to better than average coach competent by the end of several hundred hours of supervision, then we don't deserve to have interns or clients for that matter, as far as I'm concerned. But by the end of that, we're really looking for fit. So fit with the team, fit with the community, the ability to interact with parents in our office in passing, things like that. And our internship program is this wonderful period of time to expose people. And we know by the end, do they have it or not? And we have kind of unofficially a ranking. I know who my top 10 go-to calls are going to be if somebody bows out on me. If somebody comes in this afternoon and says, hey, can we talk? And you guys know how much that sucks when you hear those words. Can we have a quick conversation? Yep. And they close the door behind you. I know that after I say thank you, I understand, I wish you well. Who am I calling first? Yeah. I know exactly who that person is. And so to me, that's what our internship program is. It's an opportunity to develop talent for us, for you, for people listening to this. I want to think that we're sending competent coaches out there into the industry who are moving us in a direction that we like.
Yeah.
Hope that answers.
Yeah, no, well said. I mean, and really the way you talk about the internship, it's like a couple 100-hour interview, right? Yes. It's like as if you can interview a candidate for a couple 100 hours, and watch them and learn and see them hopefully grow and acclimate to your culture and your team and your community or not. and then decide whether or not after that couple 100-hour interview, whether you want to hire them. I think it's a great way to look at it. Fisher, you want to talk? I know we've had a potpourri of experiences when it comes. Yeah, we've tried all kinds of things. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what we've learned?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is that Pete is correct, and you should, by all accounts, do an internship if at all possible. It's one of the things that truly I feel very excited about for members of the Unicorn Society and the people that get to work with us, because if it's possible for you to have an internship program, to me, it seems like an absolute no-brainer. The challenge, of course, is it is a lot of work. I think for an internship program to be effective, first of all, you need to really create a system so the organization is also benefiting from it. Now, to be clear, to run, I think, a high integrity internship program, you also need to create a system that benefits the individuals that are the interns. But for the organization to get benefit, if you don't have a system in place for you to leverage that workforce, then you could actually wind up spending a lot of time and energy that is making your life more complicated and taking away time rather than adding value to the business. Now, in some markets, New York among them, this is very hard to pull off. So we tried this in New York City. It went okay. We definitely got some amazing people, but on balance, we just found, due to the strengths of the economics of New York City, that was very hard for us to pull off. We couldn't do things like easily arrange housing. We couldn't easily pay people enough to really live in New York City for months at a time and go without a paycheck, which also meant the scheduling was difficult because now we are having to work around other stuff, which we understand because we had a paid internship too, to be clear. So it wasn't even like it was an unpaid internship. It just still wasn't enough in that market. So because of that, I'm excited for Pete to share how to do this, because if you're listening to this, and when I talk about developing and building a team, I always say the best way to hire people is to have some program where you work with them for a while. And since there's probably almost nobody doing better in the biz, I mean, I always think of it's the triumvirate, right? It's CSP, it's Mike Blow Strength and Conditioning, and iFast are the companies that I think of. And certainly this is going to be an amazing opportunity for people to work with us to get Pete's 2 cents about just how to do that. Because at MFF, New York City was just a different animal. Now, for a little bit more around what do we do with those limitations, we just hustle and have to always be hiring. And in full disclosure, there's times where we've done this and times where we haven't. So one of the things that makes this challenging for all of us listening to this is a training gym, a micro gym. You might have extended periods where you don't need to hire anybody, depending on your market, depending on your team. As I've been known to semi-controversially say, if you're in a smaller socioeconomically depressed market, you probably won't hire that much, because once you find people, they're happy to have a job. They're going to stick around for the long term. If you're in a market where you see a lot more turnover, sometimes it might mean you need to create a better working environment to improve your retention. And sometimes them's the breaks. And the challenge is hiring, like anything else, you get better at over time. I think you're not going to bat 1,000 if you have to hire people. To Pete's point, you can probably get pretty close if you've worked with people for 300 to 500 hours. No matter how good your hiring and vetting process is, you're going to occasionally not pick the exact right fit, even though overall I think MFF has done this pretty well. But if there's one takeaway I'll offer you is, if you're in a situation where you either don't have time or it's not the right market to really build out a robust internship program, what I would encourage you to do is just accept a certain percentage of your job as an owner, operator, or if you get big enough, perhaps a fitness director, is always be looking for talent. It's not this an occasional thing that happens. It's annoying that now you have to add in all this extra work to your job. You kind of have to always be looking. And MFF is lucky in the extent that things are going real fast. So by the time this is released, the world will know we have actually waitlisted our semi-privates. We are out of space. We cannot even handle more business right now, which on the one hand is fantastic, but on the other hand is a real challenge. We're literally turning people away because we also can't just throw somebody on the floor and assume that they can deliver MFF from a standard operating procedures perspective. We can't just assume they're going to understand our culture and really be able to be a right fit. So what we've started doing, which is maybe another takeaway for you, in addition to constantly having ads going on Indeed and ZipRecruiter and Craigslist and networking and talking to industry colleagues, what we're now doing is when people are interested in MFF, we think long enough in advance that my dream going forward is, even though we don't have an internship per se, that at any given moment, I want to have at least a few people in the funnel that are doing 4 to up to 12 weeks of free training with us as a client. Now, this has some cost to us because, of course, we have to pay to service those sessions. But the plan is if at any given moment we have 3 to 4 people training with us, then every 3 to 6 to 9 months, depending on the moment MFF's history, we're going to have this continually growing bucket of potential candidates. Now, that's still not a perfect solution, obviously, because if somebody is an amazing fit, but you don't have a position for them, and then 9 months later they're in a gig, I don't presume that we're going to get all of these individuals. But for context, right now, I think we have 7 people that are working with us. It's sort of our shortened hour version, I guess, of an internship program. And while it's not the same as working with them, we still have an opportunity to see them train. They still have an opportunity to understand what MFF is. We get to see how they react with the other ninjas. We get to see how is their technical proficiency. We get to see, do they improve over time? We get to see how do they respond to feedback? And it just gives us a little bit more data before we move into our existing system, which is things that many of you probably already know to do, which is a phone screen, a group interview, a stress test, have them teach a class, check references, et cetera, et cetera. So that's some context from the MFF universe.
Yeah.
Can I share 2 lessons relating to the internship piece that I didn't maybe expect to learn going into it?
Yeah, go for it.
The first is that I don't think we appreciate just how stagnant our kind of team environment can become if we have really good continuity. You know, we tend to retain our employees, and it's easy to lose sight of the fact that you kind of lose your flair a little bit. The new interns that come in 3 times a year here overhaul the vibe.
Right.
It's like we bring this personality infusion that is completely different from the last 3, 4, 5 months, and clients love it. And it forces our team to either reinvent themselves or just revisit, like, who am I and what am I good at? Because they need to introduce that version of themselves to the interns. So that caught me by surprise as I've seen it grow. But I count on new interns to bring out the best in my full-time staff, which is kind of counterintuitive, but it happens. Second lesson is, and I learned this at Babson when I was I did both an undergrad and a graduate degree there, but they wouldn't let us walk for our degree until we got our resume approved by the Center for Career Development. So in order to be given your cap and gown, you had to give it to them because they were concerned about the product that they were sending out on the world, because we were a reflection of their brand. And we employ that system with our interns here. So you can't quit on an intern. You can't just say, like, you know what, just let them ride it out. We're going to push them off to the side, keep them off of people's radars, and let them be a C+ intern, because they still put your name on their resume when they leave. And if there's one lesson I've learned repeatedly in this industry, people don't call references. So I don't often get a chance to say, hey, you know what, I wouldn't hire that person. And there are people who make me look bad. So one of the ways that we can control that is, 1, delivering a kick-ass internship experience where we pay attention to everybody, but 2, making sure that they're super polished when they go. They have to come in and sit with me and talk about their resume. They have to talk about how they're positioning themselves in future job opportunities. They have to check that box. They cannot leave without having that conversation with me, and sometimes with John, my director of performance. And so I am auditing cover letters. I'm helping write them. I'm revising resumes, because I'm scared to death that one of them is going to submit a resume to you guys and you're going to be like, I can't believe this clown got through Pete's program. And so that's one of my fears. And that's a system that we put in place that I think is worthy of note for anyone who runs an internship program. You have to understand that they become an extension of you, like it or not. So do as damn good a job as you can.
Also, call references, people. What are you doing?
I know.
What are you doing?
It's the, it's one of the easiest steps in the interview process.
You know what, though?
You get the most insight from it, and people skip it.
You know what, though, Keeler? We've skipped it. Because we got bit once real hard. We should have
100%.
Because we saw the name and there was an employer that we knew. We just assumed, oh, must be great. And then turned out we probably should have actually confirmed. So let me not throw stones in my glass house. I do it now, and you should too if this is news for you.
Yeah, but I think you're so right, Pete. I think whether it's an unintended but positive consequence to bringing new people in on a regular basis, whether it's an internship program or something similar, is that they're like a little squeeze of lemon in the soup. You're adding a fresh ingredient once in a while that wakes everybody up.
Metaphor.
And it's cooking.
Cooking guy over here.
Yeah.
Thanks, COVID.
Yeah, thanks. Seriously. But I think that's so smart. And I also love the idea that, not only is it your job to make them have a great internship experience and make sure they have a great experience afterwards by being a great advocate and representative of your business. I think it's really important to think of it that way, because that's the way it is. These were great tips, gents. We're going to keep today's actually a little bit short, so I might just leave it there, because we could probably keep talking about this for a while, but I think there were some great takeaways for our listeners and our viewers. Plus, they got to hear more from Pete, which is always a treat. Well, thanks for doing this, friends. We'll probably be reconvening again to do it very soon. If all you have any questions for each of us about hiring, internships, any of the above, email us. It's michael@businessforunicorns.com, mark@businessforunicorns.com, and fresh off the presses, Pete at businessforunicorns.com. And so feel free to email us if you have questions that we can answer by email, or you want to suggest other topics that we talk about in these bonus episodes. Reach out to us there or on our Business of Unicorns Instagram. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you dudes soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Hey friends, before you go, just one more thing. If you enjoy this podcast, you get value out of it, you enjoy listening, please share this podcast, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. We don't spend any money on marketing or advertising. And so the only way people find out about this podcast is from you. So please do everything you can to share it with friends and fellow colleagues in the fitness industry. We love making it, and we want to keep doing it for a long, long time. So I appreciate your support. Go have a kick-ass day. Bye.